Despite extremely high air travel fares, despite high rates, hotel bookings are hitting record highs with Indian travelers choosing domestic travel over international travel. Hotel bookings across the board, across the country are at their peak levels. That's the reality. Why, how, and what is the way forward? And to discuss that, we have a couple of very special guests joining us. We have Mr. KB Kachru, Chairman Emeritus and Principal Advisor, South Asia Radisson Hotel Group, now joining us. We also have Mr. Jayakrishnan Sudhakaran, General Manager, Movenpick, Bangkok, joining us. Jayakrishnan Sudhakaran, thank you so much for being with us. I want to begin by asking, talk to us. You're from Movenpick, Bangkok, but the fact of the matter is that Indian hotels are doing fantastically well, despite the fact that domestic airfares are so high.
Absolutely. I've been witness to this, for the past 3.5 years post the market recovered after COVID. And the great part was, as you rightly mentioned, domestic travel. India is blessed with domestic travel, the diversity that we have. And this was one of the markets that kind of recovered from COVID the fastest when you compare to the world markets. So 2020, by mid of that, the domestic travel in India had started booming up. So we had a great market recovery, of course, for essential reason traveling, because it was mostly for business. But the moment the pandemic was slightly out of question, we could see that even the tier 2, tier 1, of course, the tier 3s, and also the leisure destinations started seeing, blessings from the travelers, within the country. And of course, we were one of those, very rare nations that kind of bounced back heavily. And now, when the world market is still opening, because I'm in Thailand for the past 3 months, and I'm seeing that these countries are still opening up now. India has seen this recovery well past, maybe in mid of 2020 or beginning of 2021. So this trend is going to still go across further, because it's not essentially business travel. It's the sports tourism, the spiritual tourism, supported by, of course, the great growth that we see in terms of our business travel as well. If you look at it, CAGR of 17%, and of course the Indian industry is bouncing back to about a 31.63 billion as per reports received by about 2025 to 2030. So that's great signs for the Indian hospitality for sure.
Right, great times for Indian hospitality for sure. The question here is that how long will it continue? The point is that, are we, first of all, I want to simply understand, are we crossing pre-COVID levels at this stage? And if that's the case, do you expect the momentum to continue?
Already in most markets, we have seen that, because if, in our language, we calculate as a RevPAR, which is your revenue per available room. And in most markets, we have seen that this is already crossing the 2019 limits. And record highs are being created in some of the other markets. When it comes to leisure market, it's always dependent on luxury or leisure travel. But when it comes to a city, it is generally throughout the year. So we see that surge happening across, and I'm sure we've already crossed across 2019, and new records are being created. As per industry trends, I think 2024 is going to be even better than 2023. So this, this game is going to continue for sure.
All right, this game is going to continue is the word coming in from Mr. Jayakrishnan Sudhakaran. Stay with us, Kartik. Fascinating, isn't it? And the fact that what I find more fascinating is that, as travel comes back and as Indian travelers sort of, get back on their feet, they are preferring domestic destinations to say, Europe or America, which has been their hot favorites.
Right, Krishna. So I think Europe and the US say the primary challenge has been delay in visas.
Yeah.
So getting visas, getting your travel documents which will permit you to fly into the European markets or into USA are delayed beyond control, right? So that is number one. Number two, we are bang in the middle of holiday season. Schools are closed. People tend to take their work a little easier this time of the year, like they do in, let's say, the Christmas, New Year period of December. And what we are seeing is fairly natural, that it's the hill stations that everybody is going after. Now, of course, we are also in a situation where airfares haven't really come down. If anything, they're only escalating. They're going higher and higher. But I think the kind of North Indian hill stations that we are exploring are again the usual suspects. You've got Nainital, you've got Mussoorie, you've got Leh, you've got Manali, you've got all these partly drivable, partly flyable destinations. But mostly it seems this is holiday season, primarily in North India, people preferring to perhaps drive down rather than take flights. And of course, Mussoorie and Nainital don't have airports. You could fly into Dehradun, but flight traffic into Dehradun is also not significant. So overall, I think these are usual suspects. The year-on-year growth seems fairly obvious given the fact that we were in the middle of Omicron last year. So the pandemic had not receded completely last year. I doubt too many Indians would have been adventurous, especially with children this time of the year, to travel lock, stock, barrel with family, out on a road trip or even abroad for that matter.
Right.
So why it seems like a fairly obvious jump as expected. Let's agree with Mr. Sudhakaran for the sake of overall vacation mood that the trend only betters next year.
All right, so I'll hope for that. Even as we talk about that, you see the change in airfares, domestic airfares up nearly 150%, 160% to 150%. It's been the rate of increase of domestic airfares, and this kind of a high level of bookings belie those extremely high airfares. We have Mr. KB Kachru, Chairman Emeritus and Principal Advisor, South Asia, Radisson Hotel Group, now joining us live on the broadcast. Mr. KB Kachru, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. Talk to us. Interesting phenomena. Occupancy rates are above 90%, and looks like travel is now beating pre-COVID levels.
Yes, it's actually good news for our industry after what we have gone through. As my colleague said during the COVID period, this is a pleasant change. We have it's growing, at a phenomenal pace, and we expect it to grow further. People are venturing out, as my earlier colleague said, that domestic tourism is the key now, even for Indian hospitality industry, which used to be partially heavily dependent on international traffic. But close to 90% of our business is now domestic. And what has happened is that we have increased the business between 21 and 22, year 22, by 61%, which actually is quite huge. And this is despite the fact that in 19 and 20, the business contracted heavily, international traffic. But this year, 23, we're expecting it to increase by over 300%, which is a good sign. The rates, yes, I agree, have gone up. But you have to see the inventory was very low. We two-tier and three-tier towns actually didn't have. Hill stations where a lot of smaller resorts have come in, they're doing very well, but the capacity is low. What we have seen in the year passed by, or the first 6 months of the year, there are more hotels in 3 and 4 tier towns, which are in the mid-scale and upper mid-scale segment. In 2023, we're expecting about 270 hotels to be signed. Another 21,000 keys will come into India. And we hope, the industry hopes to open about 12,000 keys in the current year, which I think is a very good sign. But let me tell you, our average rate is still very affordable. There are wrong notions. Yes, in certain particular locations, we have higher rates because I'm in a place like Gulmarg, you hardly have any inventory. We're talking about Kashmir, we're talking some segments of Kerala where inventory is limited. The rates are much higher than what people would want. But average countrywide rate is still in the range of 8,000 rupees, which is affordable.
Right. You're saying the rates are affordable still. If I were to ask Jayakrishnan, Sudhakaran, talk to us about rates, in general, for example, for the average Indian traveler who, is taking his or her regular Europe or America vacation, the costs have gone up, anywhere between 20 to 30%, of the overall outlay. In that sense, has domestic travel sort of remained stable in terms of costs, if not, gone down?
In terms of course, air travel, it is of course demand based, and that's gone up as my colleagues were saying. But in terms of hotels, of course, in all the cities in the last 3 years, we've seen a lot of new keys coming across, whether it is in terms of your 3 stars and above segment. So
Right.
it is, I would say it is still affordable, because I always have this question across that, while airlines and hotels are a part of travel, there is always a comparison of airfares to hotels. It generally doesn't happen because airfare is still a regulated segment, or it's a controlled segment, whereas hotels are in multiple sources. So it's always not relatable that, hotel fares and airfares will be proportionally high. But when it comes to domestic travel, as we were talking about it, there are multiple options. Our logistics are much better. The Indian railways are well connected now. The road traffic is much more efficient in terms of logistics. So there are multiple sources that they could. And what we need to always remember is both are perishable commodities. So when rates soar up in certain cities, of course, there are debates about exploitation happening. But of course, it's a demand and supply that comes across, which is there in every industry. Now, customers have been used to a certain price pattern when hotels saw bad times during the 2020, 2021. And, we need to get that memory out and say that, of course, the industry's bounced back, and this is the give back time or the receiving time back to the industry. And that's what our country is also going through. And of course, there are certain segments like, certain locations like exquisite ones, which are premium, maybe like, Kashmir or certain parts of Kerala or Rajasthan, which is there. The supply is limited. Affordability is there. So, of course, the hotel industry is right in terms of, making the right pricing across. Of course, it's sustainable for at least the next few. And I think in terms of the new supply coming in, we are almost reaching there. When you compare to any other market, India is still, a lot to catch up in terms of the keys. So right now we're coming to that stage where, we're kind of balancing it out. So it's a fair game to look at right now. And as I said, it's going to be good till about 2024, which is the foresight that we have right now.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to bring this back to my colleague Kartik in the studio for a second. Kartik, the fact of the matter is that the kind of holidays have become very specific, and the fact that some of these resorts are full is because these resorts are catering to specific needs. For example, all the ones that you find in Uttarakhand, there is spiritual travel that's happening, there is medical travel that's happening, retreats essentially, and not one particular kind of travel. Many people are finding value in taking time out to go do something specific as part of their holidays.
Absolutely, and add to that, the Airbnbs or the OYO rooms of the world really coming in. I have a lot of friends who don't, and you're one of them in fact, who don't really want to go and get a cookie cutter holiday. And that's a term I've borrowed from you. They don't want a cookie cutter holiday.
Right.
They're looking for experiences. Yeah. And depending on the needs, you're traveling with old parents, or you're traveling with young children, or you're traveling in a group with friends, with colleagues. You want to do certain things, and those certain things require space, require a focused attention, a certain service being available or being made available to you. So yeah, these are the kind of experiences and these are the kind of memories people want to create now, as opposed to this love affair with plush hospitality and great hotels. I'm not sure Mr. Kachru is going to like that, but I think the days of plush luxury and enjoying a widespread, all-inclusive breakfast, buffet, etc. is not something that entices a lot of Gen Zs and millennials alike, I think.
We'll check with Mr. Kachru on that. Mr. KB Kachru, talk to us, because all of these, a resort like say Khyber, you're seeing a lot of variation. It's not only the typical 5-star hotels, but it's all these resorts, focused resorts offering spiritual retreats or spa retreats. They are doing really well.
This is a matter which nobody can argue what our colleague said. I think people want experiences, you have to give them, and the whole market is very dynamic. It keeps on changing. We have to accept it. I think we can't set the guidelines. The market will set it for us. The market dynamics have changed. What I would like to add here is that while these experiences are important and are happening, and people are converting even small little homes into homes for experiences, whether it's Uttarakhand, whether it's Himachal or Kerala, Jammu and Kashmir, 8 room, 20 room, 18 rooms. I mean, they're in fact driving higher rates than actually some of the 5-star hotels at business locations, which is very good. and people will have great times there. What is important and what will help our tourism and domestic tourism? We have 1.4 billion people, and people have started traveling. Road connectivity, our railway connectivity has increased. I wear two hats. I work for Radisson, and we have actually achieved something which we thought would be very difficult. We'll have a hotel every 4 hours of drive from north to east and from west all over India, and that every single chain is doing. And as part of being Hotel Association of India, I feel the entire industry, every single brand is focusing on actually putting all their energies where the market is. 50% of our GDP actually is coming from tier 2 and tier 3 towns. And I see no reason why we don't focus there. Things have started happening, and fortunately, everybody has realized that we have a shortage of inventory. 150 hotels are expected to open in the current year, which is really very big. And I agree totally that I think there has to be a good market mix. Business hotels, hotels with experiences, leisure resorts, whether they're hill or beaches or whatever. People want to live for today. There was a time when people actually felt we go on having more and more real estate and improve our bank balances. Now youngsters are actually living for today. And I think that's great for our industry.
YOLO, I think YOLO is what you're referring to,
Absolutely.
Mr. Kachru.
You only live once, Mr. KB Kachru. That's the reason why, I guess, that message, that philosophy seems to have been very deeply ingrained in, I'm guessing, both the millennials and the Gen Zs, isn't it, Kartik? It's not specific only to the Gen Zs, so to speak.
More so, I think, in the post-pandemic world, because you've seen what has happened. You've seen what has hit you. It has hit you hard. It's hit people in your family. It's hit your friend circle. And overall, you have realized that, you are not going to be happier if you die richer.
Words of wisdom from Kartik, but I'm afraid we've completely run out of time here on the show. I'm going to thank the guests, Mr. KB Kachru and Mr. Jayakrishnan Sudhakaran, for taking time out to be with us here on Business Plus. Thank you so much for joining us. And with that, it's a wrap here from our side. This is Krishnakumar signing off. Keep watching News 9.